I just feel it's a good idea to capture the story of Sky from pioneers like you, and one day write it out so we can all keep it as something we can actually touch, and remember. I wanted to kind of record the conversation and then remind each other of the memories we have, So what I never fully understood was how you became part of Sky. How did you become part of Sky?
My story and the story of Sky and the story of Wilson Ajay, we go way back as far as when we were kids. I happened to live with one of my cousins in Tishiningwa Estate. And Willie used to live there with his family. So that's when I knew Willie. Because at that time, my cousin had a video like a movie theater, and me and one of my younger cousins are the people who were in charge of the place. So Wilson Ajay, comes there with his family and his cousins, and then we became friends. But at the same time, apparently, he was a student in St. John's Secondary School in Takoradi. So we both of us found out. I mean, we are attending the same secondary school. So then we became more friends. In school, the two of us. Actually, he was ahead of me one year in school, right? So, but we had something in common again besides being friends. We all used to robot dancing, if you remember that time.
I do remember robot dancing.
Right. So we were dancing in school, during fun and entertainment times and stuff like that. So after school, we went back to, both of us lived in Accra. So we met again there. And then, at that time, we were a little bit older. So, we started hanging out together and doing more things together. So that time, I think he attended Legon at that time. And then whilst he was in Legon, he left and went to London. And so that's when I didn't see him again for a while. And whilst he went to London, I came to the United States. For like a year and a half or something like that. And then I came to Ghana. When I came to Ghana, Wilson had also stayed in London for a couple of years, about 3, 4 something years. I don't remember exactly how many years, but he also came to Ghana. And so when he came, we met up again.
So when you both returned from your trips abroad, you met again in Accra?
In Accra, yes. We met again in Accra, but it wasn't when he went to London. I don't think I even spoke to him in London. So it wasn't like there was any plan of us meeting back in Accra, but it just so happened, right? So so we met again, and then at that time, he told me that, mind you, before all this stuff, we were lovers of music. Because I told you we used to dance and stuff like that, right? So we love music. And one very good memory that I have between me and Wilson was when Midnight Star came out with this song, No Parking Baby. You remember that song?
Yes.
And Mildest Touch and all those songs. Yeah, it had just come out. So me and Wilson, every day, we just hang up in his brother's house. And we write the lyrics of all these songs manually. We'll listen by line and write all the lyrics together. So when he came from London, he had brought all this music, like a big library of music, because of our music loving backgrounds.
Yeah.
So then we got together again, and then he said, you know what? He wants to open a recording studio in Accra, Adabaka in Accra. So I said, yeah, why not? So, we started, making plans together. And long story short, he opened the recording studio. And it was called Music Paradise, Yeah.
Yes.
It was very, very close to Miracle Mirage. If you know where it was, between Miracle Mirage and Glen. Yeah, in Adaraka in Accra.
Yes.
So then I started going back there with him, and that's where I go like every day. I go over there, and we just do the business of music, But whilst he was in London, I think he became friends with the main guys who owned Vibe FM then. You remember them?
Mike Cook.
Mike Cook and another guy. There were two of them.
Tamaclo.
So it was Tamaclo. Yeah, that's right. You remember them. That's right. So he met them. I think they were friends in London before he came, or maybe because they all stayed in London. When he came back, for whatever reason, he had some contacts with them, right? So they started coming to the shop, Music Paradise, to sometimes borrow some of the music to produce their programs.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, they used to come there every day. They come and get the new songs, and then they go over to Vibe FM and play the music. But during those interactions, I think they discussed that, hey, I mean, at that time, Vibe FM was a very, very very big FM station in Accra. You know what I'm saying? Because it had the foreign touch, and with these young guys together, they were really, really big. So they came and discussed with Wilson that, hey, there's another lucrative city that we might try and look at, branching off into. So I think, long story short, Wilson called me one day and said, hey, listen to what Mike Cook and this guy is saying. They are thinking about Takoradi, but they don't know Takoradi. We went to school in Takoradi, me and him, right? So he said, why don't we take a trip there and see, how everything will go? So, we took a trip to Takoradi and did all the research. So I remember very well, I actually typed the application for the license, because at that time, I had also gone to some vocational training and all that stuff, including everything I've done. So, Wilson wrote the thing, I typed it, we got it together, and then we took it to the ministry. And luckily enough for him, it was approved. I think his wife at that time, we were looking for, I forgot exactly how much money, but I think it was about 10,000 pounds or some amount, some huge amount that they were looking for. But his wife was still in London with the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they got together, and I think it was him and his wife and his big brother. His big brother used to work for one of the big guys at Ghana Electricity or something like that.
You're talking about Big Bro Kennedy Arthur.
Yeah, Big Bro. Yeah. See, I forgot you know him too. So, yeah. So him. Yeah. So I think Big Bro brought most of the money, and then his wife also brought some money. Wilson already had the music and the connection, right? And then so we put everything together, and then we started heading over to Takoradi. But my mom was in Takoradi at that time. Mm-hmm. So, despite the fact that I went to school there, I also have some connections in Takoradi. So we went there, went to stay in my house and went around and, scout out for like locations for the radio station. And we got the building that me and you worked in. All right.
37 Windy Ridge.
Yes. So you remember the address too, right?
Yes, I do.
You're a journalist for real. So yeah, we got the rental for the house, and then now we had to buy the console and start buying all the stuff we needed. Wilson contacted BBC and got some kind of a partnership with them. So they came and installed a satellite. Wilson bought the console, and we got all the as far as the music, we had the speakers and stuff like that. We had everything already, right? So, long story short, we spent some sleepless nights and very hard working, putting all the place together. And then, long story short, Sky Power FM was actually became live. But when we got everything together, we had to recruit people. So, we just advertised and played demo runs for I think a week or two, just playing the music and testing the outputs and everything. During that time, during the testing period, that's when we recruited people. We got Caesar, Nadele Thompson, Yuki, Mamie Fua, you remember her, right? DeGraft Aiden.
I remember her very well, yes.
KGA.
Kofi Jetsuwa Nkuma.
Yes, that's right. So, yeah.
Mamiesi McHanson.
No, I don't think we started with Mamiesi McHanson. Some of the crew came after Sky had started.
Now, about Mamiesi McHanson, I spoke to her, and this was her memory.
Okay.
Her memory is interesting. She came during the test transmission because she heard that you were recruiting. So when she came, she said she met two gentlemen. One was very well dressed, the other not quite. So she decided to focus on the gentleman who was very well dressed. And then she asked me, Philip, do you know who the well dressed gentleman was? I said, no. He said, KingB. She said, KingB. And then she said, do you remember KingB is always well dressed, And I thought, absolutely. Even when he's going to bed, he dresses in a 3-piece suit.
That is really funny, man.
And so KingB, this is what I am looking for. Can you see the laughter we're having now would have been impossible if we were just texting each other. I wanted us to go back in time, relive this special experience. Now,
you're right.
The other thing she said was, and Philip, do you know who the guy who was not properly dressed was? I said no. And she said, and what made it worse, this guy looking so wretched was sleeping on the carpet. So she didn't really pay attention at all. And that guy was Wilson Arthur, the chief executive.
I remember so vividly, because we slept on the carpet for a long time.
And I believe it. I know it to be true because, and
she's right.
Can I just say, KingB, how fickle our collective memories are until we talk and record? Because I remember so well, and I don't know how much you remember personally about me, and I've got a couple of stories to share about you. But when Sky, before Sky started any test transmission and all that, I knew Sky was coming because I was working for radio and TV reviews at the time, RTV.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
And I was writing everything concerning radio stations in Ghana with specific attention to central and western regions. So Sky's arrival, rumored arrival, was something I took extreme interest in. And I met Wilson long before any test transmission started. And I used to almost on daily basis comes to the studio, and you guys were sleeping on the floor. I mean, you were like you were like vagabonds, homeless boys,
exactly,
with no purpose.
And during the day, we'll go to my mom's house to go and eat and come back. and we did that thing for, I think, a couple of weeks. I forgot exactly how many weeks. Even when we went live, we're still sleeping on the floor, basically.
Now, can you tell me the kind of car Wilson had at the time? Because that counts with its own story.
Yes. Wilson had, because me and him drove that car from Accra to Takoradi the first time. It was a Golf. I've forgotten exactly what series it was, but it was a very little Golf. What series was that? And it wasn't a very good car.
Was old and tattered.
It wasn't. Yes, it was tattered. So just imagine, at that time we used to go back and forth from Accra to Takoradi, and from Takoradi to Accra, all in that car. You know, sometimes it will break up somewhere in the middle of the road, and you know.
And is that why when Sky began commercial transmission, when it was now a business working, the excitement and everything,
right.
Wilson still didn't have a car.
Yes.
And
yes.
If you remember, Kwesi Fletcher obviously was part of you guys from the beginning, as it were. He had a taxi. An old taxi that you were using.
I didn't mention him, and I'm sorry for that. I was trying to remember exactly. Yes, Kwesi Fletcher was there too from the beginning, and he had a taxi. So I think he either drove his taxi to take Wilson back and forth, or I think he had a driver or something like that. I can't remember.
He had a driver, and then he will kind of get the driver to rest, and then Fletcher himself will drive the car to do a lot of the rounds back and forth.
Rounds, yeah. Yes. He was a hustler.
A big time hustler.
Yes. Wow, this is amazing.
Now, I have a memory to share with you, which is based on the fact that you called me a certain name, but thankfully it didn't stick. You called me Elephant. You called me Elephant Man.
Really?
Yes. So what happened was you were standing there with some other colleagues, and I came in, in usual Ghanaian way. You stopped, we were talking, and then I had a novel, and then the novel had this photo of me in it, and then it fell. When it fell, the photo came out and dropped, and you could see it was me and an elephant, a massive elephant. And you guys, I don't know whether you hadn't seen an elephant before, but you were so fascinated how I could be standing close to an elephant. And since then, for a long time, you called me Elephant Man.
Phil, we're so silly at that time. We were so silly, and we had so much fun. Like it was one of the best times. Like there was no reason for us to actually call you that, but it was probably because
I wasn't offended in any way, not at all. I was, because you guys were so curious, and you were asking me, how is it like, how I could, thinking back today, I'm thinking, I'm an African. What's wrong with me standing close to an elephant? But it turns out you probably hadn't seen an elephant before. Rutai hadn't seen an elephant before. None of the guys there, and you call yourself Africans. You hadn't seen an elephant before. And you know what's worse? So
No.
I was forced by you guys to mumble an explanation for the photo. So there I was saying, it's from Taronga Zoo. And that made you even laugh. Taronga what? And I said, oh, Taronga Zoo is in Sydney, Australia. And then, yes, I went to Sydney, Australia, where I took that photo with the elephant in the zoo. And you found it even more funny. But I think you guys didn't even believe the story I was telling. You didn't think I had been to Australia. So
Really?
at that time, I decided there's no point telling anyone that I'd ever been to Australia, the year before in 1996.
So let me ask you. So you were actually in Australia before you came to Sky, right?
I was in Australia before returning to Ghana to join Sky. In fact, when I came, I originally worked for Chronicle newspaper and then the radio and TV magazine before joining Sky Power FM.
Wow. See, that story didn't resonate very well because, like I told you, we were so silly, man, at that time. Yeah, I'll tell you. Oh, my God.
But
sorry, man.
Oh, come on. But you're right. We had so much fun. I mean,
I tell you.
Fun with no limits at all.
Exactly. We had, there was so much fun. What's his name? Shakes. You remember Shakes?
Shakes, Kojo Frimpong.
Kojo Frimpong. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. We had so much fun.
And
wow.
Oh my. And you were so funny. And you had a way of laughing. You still have that way of laughing right now. So but what I find interesting is this, KingB, which is at that time you're right. The story of me having been to Australia before and the funny photo of me and an elephant and all that didn't quite register. So up to now, you are now asking me to confirm whether I had been to Australia prior to Sky being established. It's fascinating because it tells me I was right in not talking about my Australian experience anymore.
Yes, because I didn't hear. Apparently, obviously you talked about it that particular time the picture dropped from the book, right? But you never talked about it again because I don't remember any stories like that, But now that you said that, I think I can recollect,
So Australia and Sydney meant a lot to me. I mean, for many years. And to think that I am speaking to you right now, being a permanent resident of Australia for more than a decade, and we're now having to recall the story to kind of make sense of it,
Right. So you came to Australia at that time for school, or you just came for a visit?
Work experience as a journalist, having been sponsored by Qantas. Qantas being the airline in Australia, and by Channel 7, which is a top television station in Australia. But you see, the story of how all of that came about is like a story on its own, which I've always felt isn't a story I could tell at the time it was happening, or even a few years later. I think it's still a story I am continuing to for the lack of a better word, let me say construct. It's not being constructed because it's real, and it was unbelievable at the time for a 22-year-old boy from Takrady, penniless, fly to Sydney and come back. What I mean? It was
wow. That's amazing. See, I've never heard that story before. So
coming back to Sky, what were your vivid memories? Apart from all the recruiting, all the background work you did, and everything. So maybe before I have you answer that, so at the time, Music Paradise, which Wilson was running, You had a few other people with you, and let me just mention the names and see how you recall. So there was Atupari there.
Yes, thank you. I forgot him too. Actually, now that you said Atupari, yeah. So when we were coming from Accra to Takoradi, we came with Atupari also, and Root I. But Root I, we knew him at Music Paradise because he was actually, a star, quote unquote, in Accra, because he actually had an album out, as a musician, and the music was big at that time.
Was that the music called Sweetie Sweetie or something like that?
Yes. You have a very good memory, and I think part of it is, because you were a journalist. Because I couldn't even remember the name, but I think now that you said that, I think it's right. After I talk to you, I'll Google the name and listen to that music again. Just to
now, how about Sami Arthur? Was Sami Arthur with you at the time?
Well, Sami came later.
Right.
Because Sami is actually Wilson's cousin, younger cousin. So he didn't come immediately with us. But, when we started operations, he was there. He came, actually, I think he came with Atupari.
Right.
And
what about Michael Griffiths?
Yes, Michael. How did we meet Michael Griffiths?
Because Michael Griffiths also came to Takoradi in the very early days before the start of test transmission.
Yes, I think Michael was also visiting us from at the Music Paradise, I think. But I don't remember very well, our relationship with him before he came to Takoradi.
And
but it's possible.
When Sky was opened, when Sky started operations, one of the programs we had was the Sky Christian Radio.
Yes.
Michael tells me that because he was very serious about his faith, he didn't want much to do with what exactly you and Wilson do. They break dancing.
The secular part of it.
The more secular waves. So he basically designed the Sky Christian Radio and convinced Wilson to approve it so he could have that program and own it. So obviously he started with that.
Yes, and that's absolutely correct. I remember that very well. But Michael Griffiths.
Michael Bentel Griffiths or Michael Griffiths Bentel. Probably if I mention that way, it would bring more memories.
It's very fun. Well, I know him. I mean, I he was my friend too. But it's very funny we're talking about him because just last night I was on Facebook and I saw his page on Facebook, and I was looking through his pictures and what he's doing now. Yes, but so Michael, I think he still sings for the church, or he's a reverend or something like that right now as we speak.
Yeah, he's got a huge business going called Family TV Ghana, and it is aimed at producing helpful TV programs and magazines and media for young people in a way that is helpful to them. Yeah. Now, I'm glad you mentioned that you came initially to Takoradi with Atupari, because Atupari at the time had a friend, a schoolmate in Takoradi, whom he now lives. The guy now lives in Canada, Papa Tony, whom I spoke to. So Atupari at the time specifically told Papa Tony about the plans, and I knew about Sky's arrival. About Sky, about the plans to establish Sky. So Given that, you guys just arrived in Takoradi, you didn't really know too many people in Takoradi, even though your mom was living in Takoradi at the time, and you had come to scout, you were on a reconnaissance mission, as it were. But then, let's say the first leak of the news would have come from Atupari to his friend, who and when I spoke to the friend Papa Tony, who is now in Canada, I said to him, Papa Tony, I'm sure when Atupari told you, you wouldn't have kept quiet. You didn't keep it to yourself. You would have talked about it a lot. Probably that was the time I heard it. If maybe I probably heard it initially from the National Communications Authority. Right.
But, you remember something now. I mean, now that you're saying all these things, and as we keep speaking, things start to, to come up in my brain. I think when we came to Takoradi, right, we went to, in the middle of setting up the radio station and, testing and talking to engineers here and there. Remember, there was a radio station in Takoradi, KingB, called
Twin City Radio.
What's it called? Twin City Radio Station.
It's a state-owned radio.
Yeah, it's a state-owned radio. So we spoke to, actually, when we were interviewing people, we were doing the auditioning for the personalities there. We went to acquire what's his name again? Uncle Pian.
Yes.
And the reason why we acquired Uncle Pian was because Uncle Pian was so huge. He was a huge personality, as far as radio goes in Takoradi.
We used to call him the unofficial mayor of secondary Takoradi.
Yes, absolutely. And the idea was that if we are able to get him to our radio station, he comes with all this huge audience. You understand what I'm saying? So the bargaining, talking about how much he's going to get paid and all that stuff was factored into that fact that he's bringing these people with him, And another person who tried to come on board with us was Kwame Nsedu. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he was also...
I know him too well. Let's put it that way.
Okay, good. Awesome.
So a memory I'll share with you about Kwame Nsedu. So yes, I interviewed Wilson from the early days before test transmission, right? I met him and then knew this was the owner or one of the owners. So he told me about Kwame Nsedu and how he wanted to bring Kwame Nsedu over as well. But somehow I knew the deal wasn't going through because I had already earlier spoken to Kwame Nsedu. So I went back to Kwame Nsedu as the nosy journalist and said, hey, Kwame Nsedu, it looks like this deal isn't going to be working. What's going on? And then he said, he's no longer interested. He would just stay put. So I went to Wilson and I said to Wilson, hey, Wilson, you were kind of trying to say you had the muscle to pull Kwame Nsedu away, but it looks like you failed at it because he says he's definitely not coming. And you know what Wilson told me? Wilson said, oh, well, he chickened out. So I went to publish that in the radio and TV magazines that Wilson Arthur says Kwame Nsedu has chickened out. Well,
are you serious?
Yeah. So that caused a bit of a rift because in Takoradi at that time, I don't think it was a nice thing to tell someone. And it was a phrase that wasn't popular. I mean, who wants to feel like they chickened out of something? I mean, the idea of a chicken, a chicken chickening out,
Exactly.
So I caused a bit of controversy there, because I did have a good relationship with Kwame Nsedu long before Sky.
Before that,
long before, we knew each other back then, And,
that is amazing.
And when I think about it, I don't know if it's something I will still publish or not. You know what I mean?
Hey, but you were doing your job. You know what I'm saying? Because you were just publicizing the truth. Because that was the truth.
But as it turned out, Kwame Sedu, much years down the track, eventually joined Sky Power FM. You know?
Oh, he did?
He did, yes.
After we all left, right?
Yes, after the first guys, I'll call you the first guys, the first generation had left. But of course,
right.
I was part of the first generation, and I saw everything before everything started. And I stayed on for another 8 years or so, So as I'm doing this bit of research, getting around, talking to you guys, what I see is I can see how I am in touch with all of the original 19 pioneers on the.
It's amazing. As you tell me that you've talked to all these people, that's amazing.
So what is coming out is the fact that even with the pioneers, I knew. I mean, the one person I couldn't know more than is you, because you heard the idea from the very beginning. As you said, you and Wilson were friends from childhood. But the ones who came on board and then it was launched. Launch date the 5th of October 1997. I wasn't officially.
You remember the date? I could not have remembered that for no reason. What was the date again?
5th October, 1997.
Wow.
And test transmission started around August the same year. As you said, you started fine-tuning at the output and everything, and you were listening to picking up the signals. You tried to see how far you could pick the signal from the 250 meter watt transmitter, which was the first one. And then after that, we upgraded to 5 kilowatt eventually.
5 kilowatts. That's right. That's right.
So I had inside and outside knowledge more than a lot of the guys who came on board, but they didn't necessarily know, right? Then because I stayed on for 8 years or so, I knew a lot more that happened after people like you moved on, right? So
moved on,
when I talk to you, I can see where I can kind of connect a lot of the dots. In fact, you all helped me connect the dot. And I feel like, I think this is why I feel like I should take on the project, because even no matter how much time you have, you wouldn't be able to do it as much as I could, because you can say about the genesis, but then subsequently you'll be stuck unless you do the hard yakka of going around and talking to every single person.
Right. But you know what? You are the perfect guy. And look, as we are talking about this right now, and everything you are telling me with the date, the specific dates you are pulling out. Look, I was there, but I couldn't remember it for no reason. Yeah, and it's amazing how you eventually came to join us. It was as if everything was planned. You see how now everything is just shaping up to be a complete circle right now. With you, because now you are putting all these stories together. Do you think besides you, nobody would have been able to do this? So you are the perfect guy, and I give that to you. Seriously.
Well, and ultimately, what's wonderful is the fact that it is your story, yes, our story, and being so far away from the place where it happens geographically. I mean, living in Perth, Australia. I mean, it's very hard to go any further than that. And you living in America,
the other side of the world.
But I once heard Steve Jobs say something. He said, "You can't connect the dot looking forward. You can only connect the dot looking back." So I do agree with you that it's almost as if it was planned, but it's all beginning to make sense. Look, I'll tell you something. When I spoke to a guy called Phillip Nyakpo, I don't know if you ever heard his name, but he became one of the big stars long after you left. And
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
and as we were talking, and he tried to say something about the beginning of Sky and all that, and then he said people like that and KingB, and I never met KingB. It almost made me feel a little bit sad, because the way I know you and the way I know him, I just feel like it's only natural that you knew each other, and never should you say you don't know Parkofi, or Parkofi says I don't know KingB. But it is the fact that you don't know each other.
It is the fact. I don't know
it. Another example was I was talking to Fletcher, Kwesi Fletcher, and then we were similar to this conversation, just bringing out the memories and sharing, reminding each other.
Right.
And he said to me that he met this lady, I think on Joy FM, called Mamavi, and then and then he said, "Do you know Mamavi? She's big." And I said, "Yes, I had a hand in training Mamavi at Sky, as newsreader." And then he said, "What?
Really?
Mamavi used to work at Sky?" And I said, "Come on, talk to her." And he said, we talk all the time, because Fletcher is the director for public affairs, or the spokesperson for Volta River Authority. So he speaks to a lot of journalists a lot, in Ghana.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he he says to me, he talks to Mamavi all the time, and that he never knew Mamavi worked at Sky, and it looks like Mamavi also doesn't know that Fletcher, worked at Sky. And I'm saying, Fletcher, you were like one of the roots of Sky. How is it Mamavi doesn't know? So I said, look, speak to Mamavi and say, hey, we're both ex-Sky,
Wow. Amazing. Wow. This is wonderful. See, I didn't meet a lot of people, and I heard a lot of names. I think just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was talking to, we were communicating on St. John's, our secondary school platform. And one of my mates in St. John's, in my class in St. John's, apparently, when I left and came to the States, he went to work in Sky.
What's his name?
Never heard that. What's his called? What was it? Hold on, I think I'll find the name here. He worked in Sky because he started chatting with me on the platform and said, "Hey, you remember I was in Sky?" And I was like, "Really? Did you? When?" Because I don't remember.
I don't remember you.
No.
And I don't want to disown you either.
I know, right? Oh my God! Yeah. So I'm looking for the name. I'll let you know in a minute.
And while you're looking for it as well, so Nana Debbie, can you confirm?
Yes.
Can you confirm?
Oh my God, that's another one.
That's another one. That is another one.
Professor. Yes,
she's not a professor at one university somewhere in the U.S. Is it Florida somewhere?
Yes, she is. Yeah. I think is it New? I don't want to say anything because I don't think
we don't want to be quoted on that because we're not saying the fact for sure. Yeah.
Right. But she's actually on my Facebook. She follows me on my Facebook.
Can you confirm she was the first host of the Jolly Breakfast Show?
The third host, right?
The first, because
the first.
Yeah, because my memory is that she was absolutely the first host of the program.
I think you're right.
Only because Fletcher believes the same. And I know that Fletcher joined her. So initially, she was hosting the show by herself. Then Fletcher joined, through, there's quite a lot of details there. And then she left, and then Fletcher owned Jolly Breakfast Show and basically created or recreated Jolly Breakfast Show in his image. Yeah,
that's right. I remember that. Fletcher was doing the show with Mamefua Digraph Edu, because he used to read the news.
She was in the newsroom, correct? Yes, and was in fact funny funny memory I can share about that. So I didn't I never realized yet that I had a deep voice at all, and never ever, because I was always embarrassed listening to my own voice, on radio, because I did a lot of recorded
Really?
programs. Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't like it at all. But then later on, over a period of how many years, everyone says, "How come your voice is so deep and all that?"
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
some point, Mamifo and I were reading the news together, right? So 8 o'clock in the morning, it's this is Sky Power News. My name is Phillip Nyakpo, and Mamifo the Graph Edu, yeah. And then one day, I recorded the news and listened to it, and I thought, because obviously there was the necessary contrast there. Then I could hear that, this is what people mean by I have a deep voice,
Yeah, but I can actually hear it right now.
And then I think at some point, I think it was almost a unilateral decision I made that maybe Mamifo and I should not read the news anymore together. Only because right or wrong, I don't know, but I just felt like there was such a massive contrast. You see, Mamifo has this very beautiful, sweet voice, and I couldn't necessarily say that about myself. I just thought mine, kind of stood in its own way, and I don't think anyone questioned it. Then we kind of stopped it at that point.
It was a beautiful contrast, though, when you guys did it together, because it was just nice to hear. I see. Yeah. So the guy's name is Noble Kwaji.
So there we go. I would have missed Noble Kwaji as well. Yeah. Okay. So come to think of it, I someday somebody would have to come and say, "What? KingB, Phillip Nyakpo, who are they?" Did they work for Sky? Yeah.
Exactly.
But at least, hopefully, with this kind of outreach and this conversation and these reflections, we're able to write the first drafts of the history of Sky and Sekani Takoradi and Western Region, how it connects, because we should hope that one day somebody else will build on it when I hopefully start it as it is,
But look, this is a perfect project you're doing, and I'm glad you're doing that, because there are a lot of very good memories, that we can all come back and enjoy and share it together, and it is only you who can put this together. Seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
And can I also say that my memory is the fact that Sky was such a family, massive, big family, very close. There was always laughter, always laughter. But interestingly, after the passage of more than 2 decades, I'm doing the rounds, speaking to all of you, and it's almost as if in our active memory right now, we've forgotten how good it was. It's only when we start talking that things start coming out. Like, I can tell you, speaking to Mamiesi McHanson, oh my goodness, it was fun. It was fun. And Mamiesi, I was telling her how I remember how she's just a strong woman, strong and free woman, very funny, focused, and she was talented.
She would speak her mind.
She would speak her mind. And Wilson was like a little boy in her estimation when it comes to pointing out what is right and what is wrong.
Exactly.
I mean, and to Wilson's credit, he was quite the colleague rather than the boss,
Rather than the boss, yes. Oh my God, that is so funny. I talked to Na Adole Thompson a lot.
Yes,
I actually spoke to him like a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
and anytime we get on the phone, we cannot stop laughing. Like, seriously,
oh man,
oh my God, like hours and hours of laughter. Sometimes 30 minutes, like we'll be dying laughing, So did you talk to so Fletcher is in Ghana, right?
Fletcher is in Ghana after more than 10 years in the Netherlands.
Wow. Have you been able to talk to Mamiefo de Graft Edu?
I have spoken to Mamiefo de Graft Edu. She lives in Lagos with her husband, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who else was I going to ask? You just mentioned someone's name right now.
I haven't spoken to Yuki yet.
Okay.
Yuki. To Caesar. Caesar yet.
Okay.
And then there's Bediako. I haven't spoken to Rutai yet. Oh, and by the way, Wilson.
Bediako.
Yeah, go on.
Bediako is Caesar.
Yeah, Bediako is Caesar. Yes.
Yes.
However, there's another Bediako.
Really? Oh no, hold on.
Yes.
There's this guy. We forgot about him. What's his name? Bediako, yes. That's the jazz guy.
the jazz guy.
Oh
yes.
My God. Look. Oh my God. Him. Yes. He's one of the pioneers too.
And KingB, you know what? One day, Bediako is going to listen to this recording. And he will call you and say, you forgot me. You called me the jazz guy. When we used to go out to eat. And you would say, Bediako, look, it's more than 25 years ago.
Oh my God, this is fun. This is fun.
No, Bediako played the best jazz you would ever hear in your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So Wilson is not yet aware of what I'm doing.
Oh, really?
He's probably the last person I'll interview. Having said that, I've already interviewed him. I interviewed him way back in 2004.
Okay.
Where he told me a lot of, these. And I believe he did say about you, KingB. He didn't, he said things that suggested you guys go way back. All right. So, and in my mind, I can see that Wilson did bring the original gang, Sky Gang from Accra. Root Eye, Atupari, Michael Griffiths, Samia Fa from Accra. So that is interesting. And also, look, ultimately, Wilson is going to hear this eventually. But as I'm starting, I want to be sure that I am not under unnecessary pressure, to deliver per se, because as much as it's all based on fact, it's also a lot of creativity has got to be involved because, I can write the life story of Wilson, and all that he did, but it is incomplete without weaving you into it, the role you played, how you guys met, the common interests you had, and so on and so forth. So, I explained it to my wife that it is like going to the supermarket to buy ingredients to cook food. You can buy the same set of ingredients and give it to two different people, but they will bring two sets of meals that will be different. They will taste different. They won't taste the same. That's what makes it a creative process. Yeah.
So is this going to be an audio thing? Or you?
It's primarily a book, right? However, after the book comes out, then conversations of this sort, with your permission, will be released to the public, to those who read the book, because it will bring you back to where it all started, and hearing the voices of all these people, I was inspired to look at it that way, or to plan it this way, because there was one comment on Sky FM Facebook page where someone said, just a random person, maybe one day I'll track the person down, because they were mentioning all these old names like yours and mine and etc. And then the person says, I miss those voices in my ears. And I thought, wow.
Really?
Yeah. I thought that's nice to hear that someone says they've missed the voice of KingB in their ear. And after so many years, after, as we speak, it's about 24 years ago, right? So I
Right,
thought,
right.
wouldn't it be good as I speak to you guys, I record it because there's nothing we are saying that is inappropriate. Look, I will review everything. If there's something inappropriate, I will cut it out, because
Yeah,
we
yeah.
want to be able to keep everyone's dignity, Yeah.
Right, right. You can actually edit it and just
Yeah,
take a few things here and there out. Yeah.
So imagine the book did come out, people have read it, and now they are listening to the conversation Philip had as part of the research that ended up in the book that they've
Yeah,
already read. Then
exactly.
it
That's
gives you
perfect.
a 360-degree view.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. This has been great. Yeah.
I'm glad you
This
enjoyed it.
conversation.
I'm glad you
I
enjoyed it.
did. I really like you brought so many memories, man. So many. So many memories.
And
Wow.
wish me well as I continue with this project, because I tell you what, it is going to be a painful process, but I feel like we
And
owe it to each other.
I know you do a great job. Trust me. Like I said again, you are the best guy for the job. So
Thank you, Kingsley. And I
it's
know
not.
it's late
Yes.
your end, so look, have a good sleep, and we'll be in touch.